Hello, everyone, and welcome to DmJunkies, a show made by DMs for DMs to teach you and bring you into your newest addiction of Dungeons and Dragons. And may my host please introduce himself.
Hi, I am the Drunken Monk.
Is there anything else you want to add to that?
Uh, well, I am the Drunken Monk. You can find me pretty much anywhere: TikTok, Twitter, um, Instagram, D&D Beyond, wherever. I have stuff just about everywhere. And I have been DMing for 12 years now, going
Holy
on 13
smokes.
years now.
You're going on 13 years. Congratulations. I got that
Yes,
before it cut out because
I
it's
st-
cutting out a little bit.
I started way back in '07.
I didn't hear that last part. You cut out a little bit.
I started way back in 2007.
Oh, wow. I was a tiny tot. I'm still a tiny tot. That was me being a tiny tot. So, anyways, for our topic tonight, we're talking about DM burnout, which I know that we were talking about this a little bit earlier, not today, but a couple days ago, about how you've experienced this, and so have I. So, I guess my first question to start this all off is what is your definition of DM burnout?
DM burnout for me, uh, I feel like it's just where you get to the point of exhaustion in your story, or just you're losing interest in telling the story you want to, and you just have to kind of just stop and reevaluate what you want to do.
Mm. Yeah. Have you ever experienced this before, or do you wanna are you comfortable talking about like a
So
time when you experienced it?
here, before I could DM all day, every day. But here recently, I was DMing 3 campaigns, playing in three, four, 5 campaigns, and I was just and we were running a module in my Saturday second session. And I was just losing interest in running this module. That my players were just, it was kind of like murder hoboing, dungeon crawling, and it just wasn't fun for me to continue on with with that module anymore.
Mm. Ah, I see. So I know at least for me, I've experienced it, even though I've only been playing for 4 years. It can even happen to the newest of newbies. And so that's why we're kind of here talking about it. Speaking of also you DMing and stuff, I know you're recently DMing. You're the drunken DM for Ravnica.
Oh yes, my wonderful
Yeah,
Ravnica. I have so many fun things planned, and since Goon Daddy has joined Ravnica, there's so much more potential.
it's gonna be interesting because we're gonna have a bird bard.
Yeah, so between A and I, Ravnica, my other Ravnica that I'm playing in, and there's just so much D&D going on, and I freaking love it.
That's good. That's one thing that really should be a focus point too, is I feel like you kind of need to be happy when you're playing D&D. Like you could have bad, don't get me wrong, but especially when it comes to DMing, I feel like you really need to have a good mindset.
Yeah, going in with a bad mindset just kind of makes the session funky for everyone. So it was toward the end there where people just weren't acting like their characters normally would act, and it created 2 TPKs within like 3 weeks, and it was just because of the funk I was in, and I wasn't pulling any of the stop gaps that I normally would to help my players, and so my players didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it, and it was just kind of a bad day all around.
Ugh. Yeah, that doesn't sound like fun. So I guess my question is, what's a really good sign that I guess have you ever like noticed as a player like towards a DM? Have you ever noticed them like showing any signs of starting to get DM burnout before?
Every day.
Okay.
Anytime you play with a DM, that you've created the story with them for a number of weeks, months. I'm playing with a group who's been together for 2.5 years now, and you know how the DM acts. We had one DM for my Sunday campaign, that he would show up once every like 3 weeks. His story wasn't as good as it was before, and just all that just piled and piled and piled until he finally admitted to us that, hey, I need a break. Can someone step up?
Mm. Yeah, I feel like talking and communication is something that really should be a huge key when it comes to DM to parties, at least by what I call screen to screen talk, where if a DM doesn't feel like they are in a good headspace or anything like that, or like what you said, they just need a break, is it important, I guess, to just like tell them like sometimes straight up like, hey, we need to retalk scheduling, or hey, we need to take a break because of X, Y, and Z. What's your thoughts on that?
It is extremely important. Player and DM communication is something that I always feel is for most new players or even some veteran players, the players are intimidated to talk to the DM and actually confront the DM about things. They think the DM's just going to snap all over them, snap on their character, when in most cases, you just need to talk to get things out, to understand something, or even convey feelings like, hey, what's going on? Your story isn't what I know you're capable of. And at that point, you as a player, my wife experienced DM burnout not that long ago, and I noticed it. And I said, "Hey, why don't you let me take over? I've got this cool concept going on. I can take over for a little bit. And when you're ready, we'll come back to yours."
Mm, that's really, really cool. And it's really cool that you notice the signs, especially for like Wifey Monk, who I absolutely adore. I love, her a lot for her character, especially in Ravnica. Yee. But going back on topic and stuff, uh, I know for me, I have experienced DM burnout at least twice. The first time was because we had something serious go on with school and everything else like that. And another time was actually recently where it's like, hey, because of certain situations, it's just, we got to take a break and we got to do either every other Friday or, every 3 Fridays or something like that, which is something that I know is very important. And it's really, really awesome to have players that are completely understanding. And sometimes I've noticed that some will leave, and I want DMs to know a lot. Don't take that personal because maybe it's just out of their scheduling or anything kind of like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, more so on that subject. DMs can't take anything personally. You're kind of made to be the bad guy in most situations, and players come and go. Uh, whether it's scheduling conflict or there's some DMs that I just don't mesh with. When my wife was DMing, the way I build my character was not toward her story style, and it kind of railroaded her story. We weren't a good fit me and her are a good fit to play together, but not for me to be under her DMing. And so I had to step back and say, hey, I'm just gonna stray away while you guys play for a while, and maybe I can come back when we're a little bit further on. And it's just players come and go. You just gotta know that it's not you. It's just that some people don't fit with the DM, some people don't fit with the group, and some people are just excuse me, a holes, and they just need to leave anyway.
Mm, yeah. So I know that in like previous episodes, I've kind of talked, and we kind of talked about it a little bit in this episode too, the murder hobos, or what I like to call basically the dink players. Sometimes do you feel like DMs could totally take that role instead of being the player? They can kind of be like a dick DM too. Do you think?
Oh, for sure, for sure. There was one instance where one of my players smarted off to me. It was actually while I was experiencing my last bout of DM burnout. They spouted off to me something smart, and they were looking like they were going to win the encounter. So I threw a demon at them that I knew they wouldn't be able to handle, and killed all three of them.
Oh my. Oof.
Yeah. So Dick DM is a real thing. Sorry, but I've been one of them.
Mm,
I can admit my faults. I shouldn't have done it, but I did it. And if I get DM burnout, it's something I'd probably do again. It's just kind of the nature of when you get burnout, you can do a whole things.
yeah. Though you also got to remind yourself too that like you were working hard, and so I know I talked to Cloak about this. When you're working hard on a story that's made for your players, but your players don't acknowledge it, it feels like instead, I know something that I used to say a lot, especially since I used to have like two players that were big murder hobo players and stuff like that. I told them, I'm like, you guys need to either stop or we need to figure something out, or I just can't handle you guys being in the game. Well, they took that to the overamount extreme, right? So what I did instead is I just kept on making things that were difficult. If something happened, I explained to them, this is why it happened, this is what happens when you do it. And I've learned to homebrew stuff is really fun, especially when you're a DM, because you can have a polymorphed like hobo that turns into a dragon.
Oh yes, things like that are wonderful. I love homebrew. Me and Donna, we speculated around the idea of a drunken wizard that gets his powers from the different booze he consumes.
Ah, you
Um,
just cut out a little bit right there. Could you repeat that again?
yes, me and Donna danced around this concept of the drunken wizard, and his magic is different based off of what types of booze he consumes, and the grade of booze determines how powerful his spell is. And I've used things like that, homebrew characters and things like that, to kind of throw my murder hobos through a loop. When a character almost dies a time or two, they tend to wisen up a little bit.
Yeah. I know for at least for like in my situation and stuff, they at least turned around with it. Sadly, one of us left, but that was because there's drama between player B player. And sometimes even that happens too, and it can be frustrating. So I guess the real moral of the story for this episode, I guess, is that communication is key.
Communication, and I'm gonna break off of D&D for a second, but life in general, you have to communicate. Communication is the what makes humans as evolved as we are, the ability to talk to one another and deal with situations and come up with solutions to situations. So regardless of whether it's D&D or real life, if you don't talk to the people involved, then nothing will ever change, and you just got to kind of remember that going through life.
Hmm. I guess then I still have a couple more questions, and that was a really good point that you brought up, especially since I always try when it comes to DM junkies to learn new things, even though I may know a lot about certain topics. So for instance, tonight I know a lot about DM burnout because I've had DM burnout a lot of times. There have been at least two instances that were big. I've had a couple small ones, and like I've seen worse like as a player. And oh, it's scary when you're like just like the person that's like wondering what's going on with the game, and like you know that someone's getting annoyed, and you can tell too when players are getting annoyed with it. And what you said, communication is a big deal, because without communication just everything falls apart. So,
That's for sure. Definitely communication, communication, communication. You just gotta knuckle under and talk to the person.
mm. So I guess outside of communication, what you would say either than taking time off, what's a good thing for DMs to do if they are currently experiencing DM burnout?
Work on a different story. I was having an issue with another session I was running, and I came up with this concept. And I don't want to say too much because I plan on running this on my Twitch with my Saturday party here in the future. But I've got this new story concept that it's going to be real fun. And so as a DM who was experiencing burnout, I started fleshing out this other story. I mean, I still worked on my main story, but I fleshed this other story on the side, and it made me passionate to think about what to do to make my story that I'm burnt out on better. And I was able to figure out things that will mold into both stories, and it helped me through that little patch, that rough patch I had.
You cut out at like the last like I think sentence. Could you just say that one more time? I'm so sorry.
Oh, which part? The rough part, the rough patch I had.
You just cut out right there.
I said that working on those two, working on that story on the side, helped me through the rough patch and just kind of allowed me to figure out both sides, both stories at the same time, and work. And just that little distraction was enough to knock me out of my burnout.
Ah, okay. Okay, I get what you're saying now. You still kind of like the last word, but I know what you said. So, like, it helped you just knock out and kept your creativity going through, which something that I like to work with, not only when it comes to being a DM, but it's a tip that I learned. I think it's by this guy named Kesh on YouTube, not sponsored or anything, but what he suggests is that you make this thing kind of like when it comes to creativity, especially when it comes to DMs or even heck players when they're making characters, you have this thing called a creativity bank. And whatever you deposit, you need to take out. And sometimes for DMs, we take out more than what we put in. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do. You tend to overwhelm your story with your with ideas, and you haven't built enough ideas ahead in the future, so you end up running short.
Yeah, and it's really bad. I mean, it's like anything when it comes to it. It's like DM's block, artist block, writer's block. That's what I like to call it for at least DM's block and stuff. When I don't know what's going on or anything, sometimes I'll even like just stop a session midway and I'll be like, "Hey guys, honestly, I just can't anymore tonight." That's something I've said. Anyways, so I guess the important thing is like look at Pinterest. Like for me personally, I look at Pinterest. I will watch a lot of movies that you don't expect to like really be watched. Because I know like if you're playing like a Star Forge or a Star Wars campaign, most likely you're gonna watch things that are like Star Wars related, or heck even Star Trek if you want to go with Star Forge or any kind of thing. If you're gonna do fantasy, you usually tend to watch fantasy stuff like maybe Mighty Panther and the Holy Grail or Narnia just to like tweak inspiration. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll just like watch things that you never would think would be fit in a fantasy setting because I love fantasy too much. And I'll try to like implement it in there. And you can find really weird and really creative stuff. Like, I guess for an example, for the little group that I do for my stuff, we had this little section that's kind of like a version of Candyland in a way, if that makes sense. You got to remember, my name's Kawaii on a lot of my socials, so you kind of
You are the bard. That is for darn sure.
well, what happens is in my local area, every year for the conventions and stuff, there's a D&D panel where basically just a bunch of people can go and you do a voting poll for what theme you're going to make and what type of one shot, what type of custom monsters or anything. It's a homebrew one shot setup for you that you can like buy or if you went there you're able to get. And so that's what I did one year, and it was fun. It was wicked fun, and I implemented that into my world. So now there are slushy golems that are like completely made out of ice that happen, or there's a god that's based off of like a blue raspberry, and like the area that's named is something simple as the plains of water. And I guess for like at least an idea for like a DM if you're experiencing burnout or even like a creativity block, sometimes the easiest thing can be perfect for the setting. If you have a guy named George that's an NPC, you don't need to have it be like some fancy smancy names. You know what I mean?
I do. Give me just a second. I have wifey mug running me back something. It's something I've discovered relatively recently that helps out with DM burnout. So give me just a second.
You got time. I can cut this little section out if you want me to.
Yeah, there's gonna be dead air for a minute. I'll be right back.
It's okay. And before we hit dead air and stuff, I'm gonna just have our viewers and hang out with them for a little bit. And if you guys who are watching are enjoying this episode of DM Junkies, please make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you can get caught up on all of our Adventure Initiative sessions, our one shot sessions, and even, of course, our DM Junkies episodes.
And Ravnica is coming soon to
Yay, I'm
YouTube.
excited for that.
Um, so here recently, a friend of ours, a fellow DM, brought something that's called Dawn of Worlds.
Okay.
It's an open source format where you basically play gods, and you pick whatever edition you're playing. We've used it here recently for 3.5, which I still play, um, and we're creating these um, civilizations and races and everything. And it's basically you and your entire party build the world.
Okay.
So whatever mountains, however the continents fall out, whatever races are where, um, eh, whatever plagues hit, where Trasks are, um, everything, and you basically you roll and you create your world, and it was a whole lot of fun just sitting down, rolling the dice, using this open, free online, not copyrighted by anyone format, and being able to create a world for a 3.5 campaign that myself, uh, uh, shout out to my DmJT, and then my buddy Brady. We're all three DMs, and we've all three DM for this group. Are going to use, and this is going to be our world. Whatever um, his world and my world, basically it's going to be the same format, same gods, same creatures and all that, but my story's not going to interact with his. But we've created this world, the party has created this world that we can all use, and we all have some influence in creating. So that was a good way. That's another good thing. If you're having trouble figuring stuff out, get your party, sit down with this. I'm not plugging the game by any means because it's free and I make nothing, but it was a lot of fun, and I recommend you guys look it up.
All right. So what was the name of the game again?
It's called Dawn of Worlds, and it can be applied to any tabletop RPG.
So just clarification, Dawn of Worlds.
Dawn, like the
Okay.
dawn of an era,
Okay.
Dawn of
Oh,
Worlds.
Dawn Worlds. Okay. It was like cutting halfway through, so I'm like, is it Dawn of Worlds or what is it? I don't know. I mean, I'm really happy for how the communication has been going through with the air, especially between like both of us, because I know like when we've tried talking one on one, it's been really rough.
Yeah, it's been rough more
Ugh,
than once.
more than once. But I wanted to thank you so much for coming on the show tonight, or when it comes out, it's going to be the afternoon and next week. But you know what I mean. I'm really, really thankful that you are able to be a guest on here. And do you have any questions for me that you would like to ask?
What are you working on, Kauai? We've got my campaign, Dono's campaign, Shop Goblins fleshing out this whole new podcast. You've got anything new in the works coming out?
I got two things, and I'm really excited. So first, I have my normal group called the Dungeon Nest. Originally, we were going to stream it on my Kawaii Alley YouTube channel, but because we were very, very scared of Kappa and all kinds of other stuff, we were like, no, we're not gonna test that. We're not gonna go near that route. So we're just playing for fun, and I can actually like quickly just roll that up since we're using Discord and stuff. I can just get to my little group and I can actually read to you kind of like what the world's about if you're interested.
Yeah.
Okay. So the land is called Ihura. So it says, welcome to the land of Ihura, a land of magic, mystery, and beauty. From the vast northern mountains to the oh so heavy fauna that spreads across the land, valleys, deserts, and even some ghost villages, and much, much more. The land is ruled by what it has at least been identified as five kingdoms: the Elvish Kingdom, the Son of Adam Kingdom, the Dwarven Kingdom, the Orc Kingdom, and the Fey Kingdom. With every twist and turn of the world, it has many dangers, but also small hints of beauty. Though, as the new era rises, the lust for science and technology has become to inspire generations as the generation of magic begins to slowly lose its lack of interest. So, my party has the choice of doing things that are such as sci fi, but also they are able to have bits and pieces. And it's a lot harder for, let's say, you're a wizard or a sorcerer or heck, even a warlock. It's very hard for you to find those types of places to just like
That
grab spells or learn about it.
that's a concept I've wanted to do for a while. Low magic world, kind of going from the fantasy world where we're at to kind of a mixture of a sci-fi current times kind of
Mm.
thing. It's something I've heard done multiple times, but I've never been able to do it myself.
Yeah, and then for I'm working on a one-shot world, which is a little island that's a little far off from the land of Ihura, which is basically the Candyland Island.
You and
And
Candyland.
I listen, if I want to be an adorable DM, people know that I can be equally adorable as I can be scary. And if you ask any of my players, hashtag husband mess mainly, uh I've almost TKO'd the party more than once.
Who hasn't?
And we're only in session 4.
Oh, jeez.
Well,
that,
I had I
that's
told
pretty
them, I'm
bad.
like, we're gonna have some scary stuff in this world, but I want you to know that once if you reap something, you're gonna get rewarded. So it cuts murder hobos off very quickly. I have a new player that's going to be coming soon, and it's his first time ever playing D&D, and I'm going to be helping him work on how to make a character from level 1 up to level 7, since that's where we're at.
That'll
Oh,
be fun.
oh yeah, I like how I see it. And another really good tip for DMs when it comes to encounters, higher the level doesn't always mean scarier the monster.
Yes, that's something I've seen that too many DMs fall into that trap.
Yeah. Something that I've learned is that your descriptions can be just as scary as the monster that's there. So you don't always have to have a beholder right there. I think for like one monster that I've done, I'm known for using black pudding a lot in my stuff, like for certain areas. So my players, when I first started playing, they never ate pudding because I described to them what it looks like, how it felt if they were to get hurt with it, and it scared them to the point where if there was anything that reminded them of it, it could just be like a normal thing of jello or like a normal thing of like pudding, but they were so scared of it they just didn't want to touch it.
My players are afraid whenever I put a kid in as a plot hook because I've used a kid as a bad guy multiple times.
Hmm. All right. Oof. That's kind of scary.
Right? You got this child who's just asking for help. Nope, he is a level 20 demon who steals your soul at the end of this at the end of the campaign.
Mm. And then there's my brother Felix, who has given me PTSD over boxes. That's a story for outside, but if people are really interested, actually, I'll do this. If this video actually makes it to, let's just say, 20 likes on this video, I'll share the story on like a TikTok video for people to check
Well,
out.
based off of the other views from DmJunkies, I don't think you'll have a problem.
I don't know. I want to make that bet out there. But anyways, sadly we are out of time. But thank you again so much for coming on the show. It was a blast, and I would love to have you again.
I will definitely come back. I enjoy doing these sorts of things. I enjoy educating new players and even being educated myself, thinking of just learning things that you as a one style DM and me as another style DM, both ways are right. And just learning each other's points of views is just wonderful. I love it. And I love the channel you created.
Thanks. And I really love that you guys have adopted me into the E&I family to share it on your guys' platform because I feel really, really blessed and thankful in many ways that you guys will never understand. But
Th-
on a happier note, this has been DM Junkies. I am your host, Kawaii Alley. You can find me on TikTok as Kawaii or Mess. And Monk, where can people find you?
you can find me, the Drunken Monk, on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and just about every social media platform you can think of as the Drunken Monk or the Drunken Monk 91 or the Drunken Monk 57. And um, hashtag D&D pickup line.
Yee. Do you got one on the spot for us? If not, it's okay.
Hey, girl, are you a fire genocide? Because you are smoking.
There we go. Well, anyways, guys, this has been DM Junkies, and don't forget to roll out.